Over here, completely disappeared, I have no idea where, was another house that was built by an American engineer whose name was Guy Hague. Now, Guy Hague came here in late 1930s and stayed 2.5 years. You can spot him on the old videos of Bhagavan. He's often, well, a few times he appears there in long brown khaki shorts, standing next to Bhagavan, once or twice in the area where we are filming today. Now, the interesting thing about Guy Hague is that he is the most preferred candidate for a very interesting book and film that came about when the famous author Somerset Maugham came to visit here in 1938. Somerset Maugham had been told about Bhagavan and was quite interested in seeing him. So he drove from Chennai, arrived, and almost immediately he had a kind of fainting fit and had to be taken to Major Chadwick's room. So for two reasons. First of all, he wasn't very well, and secondly, apparently he refused to take his boots off. He couldn't go into the old hall where Bhagavan normally saw people. So Bhagavan himself came to Major Chadwick's room, and they had a silent meeting in which Somerset Maugham reported feeling very quiet, very peaceful, very happy. And Somerset Maugham, I think, wasn't used to meeting people and not having a conversation. I think the Western the Western approach is good morning, how are you? Whereas Bhagavan just came, sat and looked at him, and he got peaceful and happy. And Maugham said, well, should I say something? And Bhagavan said, no, silence is the best conversation. So all this was related to me by an Amle Swami, who we're going to talk about later. He was a long-time resident of Palakottu. He was Bhagavan's attendant that day, and he gave me a description of what happened. Now, Maugham, I think, was quite moved by this experience. He carried on with his travels, but then he had this plan to write a book about a foreign American engineer who came to India in search of a guru. And he went back to the West, and in the early 1940s, he holed up in the south of France and wrote one of his most famous novels, which is called The Razor's Edge. Now, that The Razor's Edge tells the story of a man called Larry Darrel, who comes to India, meets a very famous Indian guru, is transformed by this guru. Then he goes back to the West and lives in the midst of worldly life, but as a very detached sadhu. Now, the key thing here is that Guy Hague, the man who had the house over here, was an American engineer who was here at the time, or around the time that Somerset Maugham came, and the hero of this book was called Larry Darrel, who was an American engineer who came and spent time with Bhagavan. Now, this has convinced a lot of people, not me, but a lot of people, that Guy Hague is the model for the hero of this book. This was Somerset Maugham's most saleable book, apparently. The last time I checked, it had sold 3 million copies. After it was a big success in print, he was hired by Louis Meyer, one of the founders of MGM. He was one of the M's in there, to write a script for the movie The Razor's Edge. Maugham offered to do it for nothing. Louis Meyer said, no, I must pay you, and paid him with a Matisse painting, which is quite a decent fee for writing a movie script. Even more so because when Maugham submitted his script, Louis Meyer hated it and threw it away and got somebody else to write the script for him. So Somerset Maugham ended up getting a free Matisse painting for a script that nobody ever used. So this film was released in the mid-1940s, and it starred Tyrone Power, no less, as Larry Darrel, as the man who comes to Ramanashram, meets Bhagavan, is transformed by Bhagavan, and goes back to the West. So if you have a look at this film, you'll see what Hollywood misimagined Ramanashram to be like in the 1940s. It looks like some rather overblown Greek temple with big trestle tables where people sat, and a big snowy mountain of Arunachala in the backside. Bhagavan is played with a long white beard and a Greek toga, and with a nice, with a nice Indian touch. He has this rather obsequious attendant who manages to get out a few words of Hindi. They must have found an Indian in Hollywood to play the part of the attendant.